Greetings everyone, my name is Jonathan Bailey. I am from the website Plagiarism Today, which can be found at plagiarismtoday.com, and today I want to talk about the H3H3 lawsuit that was filed by Matt Haas. I'm not even attempting his full last name, better known as the Bold Guy on YouTube, where he does, and I agree with H3H3 on this, pretty cringeworthy parkour plus pickup art videos that I just frankly don't understand, but he has a lot of subscribers, so there's that. But anyways, the issue here is Haas is suing H3H3 for copyright infringement, alleging that a reaction video posted in February by H3H3 violated the exclusive rights of a video he did. Now, they were doing a reaction vid where they apparently talked a great deal about it. I can't see the original video, it's offline, but they talked a great deal about the video, showed short clips, and it seems to most, and myself included, that this is a pretty clear-cut case of fair use, yet here we have a lawsuit. So, what gives? Well, I wanted to do my own independent research on this, so I hopped onto my Pacer account, and I actually took the time to download the lawsuit. Now, I am providing a PDF link to the lawsuit in the description. Feel free to grab a copy for yourself, and specifically I'm going to provide a link to the amended complaint, not the original complaint, for reasons I'll go into in just a second. But yes, I have read through the lawsuit, the entirety, not just the snippets that H3H3 quoted, and I think I have a few interesting tidbits to share with you, even if maybe it doesn't really change the calculus on this lawsuit much. Let's take a look at the litigation history as it existed on Pacer when I went in to do this last night. This is a pretty short history. That's the entire history, by the way. It's only 10 items. And as you'll see at the very, very top, document item 1, a complaint was filed on April 26, dear God, that's sad, April 26, 2016, and an amended complaint, looked down at item 9, was filed the very next day, April 27th. Now, I don't know how common this is, but it's pretty uncommon in my personal experience looking through these types of cases and trying to figure out what's going on with them. Now, I've looked at both the original and the amended complaint. The only difference is the amended complaint adds the DMCA section that we'll talk about in a second, so there's really no need to look at the original complaint. They're pretty much identical, other than that one section that was added in the amended. But anyways, let's have the case itself is the lawsuit itself is pretty interesting. Like I said, filed in April. The lawsuit makes two claims, two claims for relief, basically. The first is copyright infringement, alleging that the H3H3 video was a copyright infringement and therefore they are owed damages. The second complaint is Dmca Misrepresentation, saying that when H3H3 filed a counter notice, and they did provide proof that H3H3 did file a counter notice on the video, that they were making a false representation. Now, both of these claims to me personally seem to be a pretty huge stretch. But it is interesting how well Mr. Haas has his ducks in a row here. Attached to the lawsuit as Exhibit 1 is this. It is a copyright registration. The effective date of the registration, I mean the day he submitted it, was June 19th, 2015. Now that's actually pretty important for this lawsuit because, and if we're to believe what Mr. Haas here says in his litigation, the video went online in February 2015. That meant in 2016 rather. That means the effective date of registration is indeed before the video, and that does mean that should he win, he is eligible for statutory damages. Now, it's interesting, if you look at the full registration, he actually registered a collection of unpublished videos that happen to include this one with it. But yeah, he seems to have his ducks pretty well in a row. And also interesting is that even though Mr. Haas is in California, he filed the lawsuit in New York to avoid any jurisdiction issues. So it's not just a simple quickie lawsuit. This guy took the time to have his registrations in a row, to file the lawsuit in the correct jurisdiction, and basically seems to be setting this up as if it were a real full copyright infringement lawsuit that he intends to hash out. And that's definitely bad news for H3H3 because, as they said in their video, this could last a while. Now, one thing I do find interesting here is the involvement of Mr. Ryan Morrison, aka the video game attorney. He is assisting with this case. They said in the video that he had assisted up until the litigation for free, and then apparently he's continuing to assist it right now, but he might be charging something. I don't know the relationship post the lawsuit being filed. And I really trust his judgment on a lot of things. This was something that was interesting. When the Where's the Fair Use thing was initially breaking, he said this on Reddit. He said, I've received over 700 emails this past week alone from content creators. I'm truly trying to help everyone I can, but it became overwhelming fast. As such, I've got a handful of other attorneys to help, blah, blah, blah. The tricky bit is that most I speak with aren't being bullied unfairly. They are infringing and are properly being taken down, an important distinction. Morrison tends to play very close to the vest on these fair use issues. He's very, very pro-fair use, but he's not going to leap onto a case that is not a clear fair use. So I do defer a lot to his judgment, as he has facts of this case that I do not, obviously. But what really fascinates me at the end of this day is that this lawsuit happened at all. I mean, it really does truly blow my mind, because people ask me what stops these types of lawsuits from happening. Well, the answer usually is, frankly, sanity. And the reason is because even if Mr. Haas, happened to have a legitimate argument, happened to win and take this all the way, the prospect and the chances of him collecting damages that exceeded what he spent in prosecuting and pushing this case is low. There's just not much way. And that's one of the reasons why I suspect maybe this isn't a case actually about damages. And the reason I say that is because, like I said, between the original complaint and the amended complaint, the only thing that was different, that once again, as far as I can tell, is the addition of the DMCA notice. Is the DMCA element of the complaint. They're asking that that the court require that this video stay down. Now, this is part of the DMCA process. Let's say you're a copyright holder, you are a YouTuber, I'm a random copyright holder. Let's role play a little bit. You post a video that I don't like. I file a DMCA notice against you. Let's say it's legit. Let's say it's illegitimate. It doesn't really matter for the purpose of this discussion. I file a copyright notice. You say this notice is bull honking. You file a counter notice. That counter notice means that if I want that video to stay offline, I've got to file an actual lawsuit and get an injunction against you. Now, I don't think this lawsuit's just about that, because like I said, the original complaint didn't even mention the DMCA stuff, but it's very likely part of the motivation in it is to just simply get a permanent injunction against that video coming back online, as unlikely as that is. Now, H3H3, of course, seems determined to fight this the best that they can. But yeah, they are at a disadvantage here. I don't know the relationship Haas has between his attorneys and whatever deal they struck, but as is often the case in these types of copyright infringement lawsuits, when the plaintiff has a proper registration, which we just showed that he did, he's able to get the attorneys to work on a contingency fee basis. This means Haas may not be spending any money out of pocket. Now, he might. Like I said, I don't know the relationship. I'm just talking about what often and typically happens here, but he might not be spending any money out of his pocket. Well, the guys at H3H3 are forced to, because no one's going to take up the defense side. Now, if H3H3 is able to emerge victorious and prove that this case was completely bull and illegitimate and whatever, well, they may be able to get their attorney's fees back. But that's kind of difficult, because if there's any triable issue here or any reason to believe that the case was filed in good faith, those attorney's fees are far from guaranteed. So yeah, they're taking a big risk. They're spending a lot of money that they may never see again in fighting this. And meanwhile, Haas may very well just be spending his attorney's money and doesn't actually care. Now, on to the fair use issue here. I agree with others that this is almost certainly a fair use. I don't believe they... a lot of these reaction channel is kind of a dirty word these days, A lot of these reaction channels really push the boundaries of what I would say is a fair use. They display the full video, they have minimal reactions, minimal new commentary to it. I don't think H3H3 was playing that game. I've seen their other videos. I know the kind of stuff they do. They don't play that. But the interesting thing here is that fair use, despite what a lot of people say, is not actually a right. And I understand why people really get mad when I say those words, because it does feel like a right. It's attached to the First Amendment. But when it actually gets to court, it's an affirmative defense. And that means you have the burden of proof to show that your use was a fair use. They don't have to prove that it was an infringement. You have to prove it was a fair use. The burden of proof is on the defendant in this case, and that's one of the reasons these types of cases can drag out in court, even when they seem to be very, very clear. So, yeah, it's a pretty interesting lawsuit, and it showcases some of the challenges that are faced with fair use, especially when it gets into the courts. So, keep an eye on this case. YouTube has every right to be concerned and worried about it. And from, ducks in a row perspective, Mr. Haas has done pretty much everything he can to ensure that this is as valid and as dangerous of a lawsuit as possible. I disagree with his arguments. I think he's fundamentally wrong, and it seems Mr. Ryan Morrison, I don't know why I called him Matt, Mr. Ryan Morrison agrees with me. But at the same time, this is a tricky lawsuit that could be very, very damaging to H3H3 nonetheless. So I will be following him. Download the PDF of the complaint below. If you're interested in more thoughts as this case evolves, I will certainly do further videos, post further documents. But in the meantime, everyone, this is Jonathan Bailey, signing off.